This is how I would book Cody Rhodes' championship reign from now until SummerSlam. So we know Backlash is in Paris. Cody's going to have an opponent for that show. I would really love to see him have a feud with Sheamus. Sheamus is coming back to WWE. Last time we saw him was his match against Edge where he lost, right? I think Sheamus and Cody would have tremendous chemistry together and have great matches and would be a cool first opponent for Cody Rhodes, right? So Cody and Sheamus have their match at Backlash. Obviously Cody wins, but that would lead to them having another match on an episode of SmackDown. Now, since he is a full-time competitor, we haven't seen, the WWE Undisputed Universal title defended on an episode of SmackDown in a couple of years because Roman was the champ. So you set up the big rematch on SmackDown, but have this match end in a double count out, but end in a big brawl. Like, it ends in a no count out because these two keep fighting each other and they just won't stop, fighting each other to get back in the ring to break the count. Then you have them brawl in the audience. You could take it backstage. Like, have this feud get personal with an epic brawl, which leads the tension, building up for a third fight. That way, Cody doesn't beat Sheamus in the second match, but Sheamus doesn't beat Cody in the second match either. So you gotta have a third match, to resolve the situation. The next big pay-per-view after that would be the King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia, and that's where I will have the feud of Cody and Sheamus be resolved, where they have a great fight there, a great brawl. You can even maybe add a stipulation to that match if you wanted to, a Donnybrook match. Let's make it a Donnybrook match, right? Make it a Donnybrook match. Sheamus is, own style, his own backyard. It's physical, it's hard-hitting, but Cody retains in the end, and then he moves on to his next chapter. I think a lot of y'all gonna get goosebumps right here. I don't see how you couldn't, because the next challenger for Cody Rhodes, I would make the phenomenal AJ Styles. Like, think about that. The American Nightmare, the champion Cody Rhodes versus the phenomenal AJ Styles, one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time in professional wrestling history, colliding for the championship at Clash at the Castle in Scotland. Now, this to me is where it gets a little bit spicy and interesting. So the SmackDown after Clash at the Castle, Cody Rhodes comes out, cuts a promo, he retains the championship, then he gets interrupted. And who interrupts him? Seth freaking Rollins. Let's say Seth Rollins makes his return to WWE after taking his time off right now. And the reason I would have Seth get drafted to SmackDown, because the draft is coming up at the end of April, right? I would have, Seth get drafted to SmackDown because I don't think Roman Reigns is going to Raw. I think he's going to stay on SmackDown. And I think you have to have that interaction between Seth and Roman when Seth comes back. I think, Seth and Punk was big, but I think the bigger story right now is Seth and Drew. Keep them on the same brand, and Roman and Seth right now is a bigger story to me than Punk and Seth. I think we have to have that interaction right there and have these two have their big match, you know what I'm saying? So Seth Rollins makes his return to SmackDown after taking time off to heal up his body, interrupts Cody Rhodes. Remember, Seth Rollins kept his word to Cody Rhodes. He told Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, I will be your shield if I have to. And when it came down to it, Roman Reigns had that steel chair. He had the option of taking out Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins, and he saw Seth Rollins in that shield gear. And we know Roman Reigns has never gotten over the fact that Seth Rollins broke up the shield, and he took out Seth Rollins, and it cost him everything, because Cody was able to capitalize to finish his story. And since Seth Rollins kept his word, he's like, hey man, I kept my word to you, I did the right thing, I think you owe me one now. And since you're the champ, I want an opportunity at that championship. Because remember, Seth Rollins wanted Cody Rhodes at first to challenge him at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship to prove that he could beat Cody, because Seth Rollins has never beaten Cody Rhodes in a match in WWE. Whether it was a singles or a tag match, he's never beaten Cody. So in Seth's mind, I have to know if I can beat you. I have to know if you're that much better than me or if I can really get the job done. So Cody's like, you know what? You're right. I owe you one. Let's have our title match, and let's do it tonight on SmackDown. Now, yes, I know that usually a Cody and Seth match would have a really big bill because these are two of the biggest stars in WWE, but this is a special occasion, unannounced, big, shocking main event for SmackDown, right? But this match, even though they're having a great match, ends in a no contest because AJ Styles comes out and takes out both Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, because AJ Styles ain't done with Cody Rhodes yet. Even though he beat him at Clash at the Castle, AJ Styles is still hungry, to be a world champion just one last time. And just because Seth Rollins is back, that don't mean nothing to AJ Styles. That leads more angles for Cody Rhodes, and then you set up a big triple threat between Cody, AJ, and Seth for Money in the Bank in Toronto. And now with this big triple threat, Seth Rollins never losing to Cody Rhodes on SmackDown, so he gets an immediate rematch, and then AJ Styles pretty much forcing himself into this feud again to get another match for the championship. You have this big triple threat, and AJ Styles gets pinned by Cody Rhodes again to take the L, which he could afford it. It'll be fine. Cody has to win. Continues his reign as champion. And the reason I don't have him pin Seth Rollins is because if you had to go back and revisit that, Seth never was beaten by Cody on SmackDown. That guy ended due to outside interference, DQ. And in the triple threat, he never got pinned or submitted by Cody. So even though by default he lost that match, he didn't take the pin or submission. So if they had to revisit that feud again for Seth to prove that he could beat Cody, you can revisit that sometime in the future without Seth Rollins having to take another real L to Cody Rhodes. And then after the match, Cody Rhodes is celebrating. He's the guy, he just won another big match. Then the lights go out and everybody's like, what the hell's going on? The lights go out, right? Like Undertaker style. The lights go out. And then when the lights come back on, who's standing in the ring? The final boss is back, The Rock, because they already confirmed, The Rock and Cody story ain't over with. The Rock already confirmed, it's just beginning. The Rock is back now, and he beats down Cody in the middle of the ring, takes him outside the ring, rock bottom to the announce table to make a statement that I'm back. Then he takes the championship, holds it above his head, and we already know what that means. That obviously leads to Cody Rhodes versus The Rock at SummerSlam. And then when we get to SummerSlam, we have this big match. I'd have The Rock come out second as he's making his entrance, getting ready to come into the ring. Cody Rhodes goes out of the ring and he attacks The Rock because that's how personal and how big the tension is between the two. They have their big brawl. But here's where I would make it cool. I think it'd be pretty cool to do this. At WrestleMania, when the referee was counting out The Rock, he said, "You keep counting me out, I'm gonna fire your ass," because The Rock is the final boss. He's on the TKO board, so he has the power to do that. I would have him change the rules within the match as the match continues to go on. So the referee's counting these guys because, they're not getting in the ring, and then The Rock says, "You keep counting, I'm gonna fire your ass." The ref has to stop counting, right? And then The Rock maybe goes to grab a chair or that weight belt, wants to use it against Cody Rhodes, and the referee's like, "You do that, I'm going to disqualify you." Now The Rock says there's no DQ in the match, so anything goes. Like, he's adding these things in the match that makes it unfair, but also could be an advantage for Cody Rhodes later in the match. And this is where it gets more chaotic. So now that it's no DQ, it's kind of like a little repeat of WrestleMania a little bit. Solo now is, taking orders from The Rock because The Rock pretty much steps in where Roman's place was because Roman hasn't been around since WrestleMania and he's the final boss. So he's trying to make the bloodline the way he wants to make it and everything, and winning the championship makes him the ultimate final boss as the new tribal chief, right? Then all of a sudden you get the big return of Roman Reigns. His music goes off and everybody's like, Roman's back, oh my gosh. He comes out and he doesn't go after Cody Rhodes. He goes after The Rock. Takes out The Rock. Why? Because Roman's whole obsession with this gimmick has been, people to acknowledge his greatness as the tribal chief sitting at the head of the table. And he knows if The Rock wins that championship, he's going to be forced to acknowledge The Rock because the family, the elders are going to make him do so because he now has the title and he's in the higher power now, and Roman Reigns can't have that. Cody retains, and then I would have Cody move on to a feud with Randy Orton after that because that feud is bound to happen, and there's a perfect story you could tell with that right there. And now you start to plant the seeds between Rock and Roman leading up to WrestleMania next year.